changed, or at least what needs to change about package selections, right? So a couple of things. Let's walk through it. Earlier, you were really evaluating for something like this. If you're looking at slide 14, you're evaluating for a stack, which is those three needs. I need authoring capabilities, publishing capabilities, and delivery capabilities, and essentially that's the scope of what you were looking for. Today, you're evaluating for something like this, right? Where the set of capabilities you're asking from a traditional content management or web content management solution have suddenly exploded, and therefore you're dealing with a number of other capabilities. You're dealing with DAM, you're dealing with social, you're dealing with personalization, you're dealing with advertising, and hence you're kind of moving the bar in terms of what you're asking for in the breadth of the solution, right? So that's one important one in terms of how it affects your package selection process, because now you're asking for a lot more typically, right? The other thing to keep in mind is that earlier you were probably focusing more on features and functions, right? Which is, I need a CMS that can do multi-site, that can do workflows, that can do personalization. Fair enough. But here's the confusing part, right? What do you want about each of them? When you say you want multi-site or workflows, what exactly do you intend to do with it, right? And that's where you need to get a little more specific. So if you kind of pick one of these examples, what type of multi-site model do you want? In this case, perhaps the customer is asking for a multi-site model just because they are, a CPG client, a retailer who has multiple brands, and maybe each of those brands has multiple products, and they need a separate site or a separate marketing destination for each of those products. And therefore, the content may very well be unique to each of those brands, but the design and the templates and the presentations may very well be common. Now, okay, that's very specific. Now you're talking about certain very specific needs that you're asking for from this particular customer, right? And hence, that frame of looking at that requirement is much more valuable than just saying all I need is multi-site, right? So it's important to think about it that way. The same thing applies in terms of how you draft your evaluation criteria, right? So I often run into situations where I get statements both from internal teams and from customers and say, what, we are down to our final two or our final three products and we need to make a decision, and we are running into statements like this. Both the products can do multi-site, but which one is better? Both of them can do workflows, but which one is better? And both of them can do personalization, but which one is better, right? And the point is, you're spending a lot of energy on trying to answer which one is better, but what you're probably not focusing on is the fact that beyond the which one is better, you really need to define what is contextual to your particular implementation or your particular need. So what do you mean by multi-site workflows and personalization in this context, right? And that really makes the decision of whether one product works better for you or another one works better for you, right? So for example, if you say I need multi-site, right, I would typically go back to a customer and say, well, which multi-site model do you need? Do you need something that's more on the left, where you have a bunch of independent sites and you've got content for those sites, and fair enough, you may have hundreds of those, or you need really some sort of a site relationship model or a site hierarchy, where maybe you have sites in different languages or maybe sites for different regions, and now you need the ability to share content between those sites or the ability to localize content in that process from a parent site to a child site. So which one are you really after when you say, I need multi-site? Because at that level of detail, you're likely to find the difference in the 2 or 3 products that you're evaluating. But if all you're going to tell me is I need multi-site, quite honestly, it's difficult to pick an answer as to which one is going to work for your needs. And here's a more detailed articulation of that. I won't read through this. I'll let you take a look at it while it's up on the screen. But it's the same use case, right? As opposed to saying we need multi-site, here's an attempt at a customer trying to explain the 3 or 4 final shortlisted product vendors or package vendors that this is what they really mean when they say multi-site. All they're basically saying is we're a global company, we've got multiple brands. For each of these brands, we manage various campaigns, and we've got a whole bunch of sites around these campaigns in various languages, right? So as you can imagine, you're talking about a multiplier factor here based on brands, based on campaigns, based on languages and regions. And then what they're more specifically saying is we've got a model where content that is created for a campaign may be shared across the various regions in which that campaign runs, but then may be localized by language or by territory or by geography for a particular region. Now that's quite specific. When you say that's what you need with multi-site, Now you've really defined it to a level where you have a fair level of understanding of what you expect from a package. So now when you evaluate A versus B versus C product, you're in a much more informed position to say, well, this is what we need, and here's how it's likely to work with product A versus product B. All right, and then the other thing that's changed, keeping on with the theme as what has really changed about package selections and how we used to do this earlier and how we do it now, is that earlier you used to think about a solution as a point solution, right? And what I mean by that is you used to think about solution scope as, okay, we've got to stand up this WCM implementation or CMS implementation. It'll have so many templates, so many components, so many content types, so many workflows, and we're kind of done once all that is done, right? Now that hasn't changed. We still implement all of that stuff, so I'm not saying that's changed. But here's what's happened. Now, with the shift in the paradigm we went through earlier, which is consumers accessing your content through multiple channels, consumers desiring a richer experience, consumers wanting to engage with you and interact with you on social channels, and the whole need to deliver more personalized messaging to your consumer, what you're asking for is not a point solution. What you're asking for is a platform that delivers capabilities that really span across a number of these things. And given that, from a systems perspective or from a development lifecycle perspective, it's quite likely that you're not going to talk about some sort of a big bang approach where you're going to deliver all of that in one single go. You're probably going to work towards a roadmap with your customer to say, we're going to implement capabilities incrementally across different releases, where, for example, we'd start by introducing marketing content management, roll it up into personalization capabilities, supplemented with the ability to have social capabilities, and then finally deploy rich media asset management or DAM capabilities, right? And we see that for our customers as well. That's a typical roadmap they follow. The sequence may differ by customer, but the point about package selections is this. The point about package selections is when you're picking a vendor, you may be initially picking them only for that first release, for that release 1, which is their ability to deliver this piece of the puzzle, the marketing content management bit. But if you have a roadmap of capabilities that you are likely to deploy over time, you need to have some sort of visibility into whether the vendor has a current offering or a strategy to deliver a comprehensive offering or some sort of integration that allows you to fulfill this entire roadmap over time. And hence, when we now think about solutions, we really think about solutions from the perspective of such a roadmap, and we ask ourselves the question saying, okay, well, which packages or which vendors can support us with this journey, and how will we make sure that when we pick something and we do something with it, we can extend it over time to add on these capabilities, right? So with that, the reality of package selections for a WCXM solution